What habits did you start with the pandemic that you still do today? Story 1. 2 combined. 1. Daily walks. 2. Listening to 1 album a day. Still fat. Whip. But at least I've learned a lot about music. Story 2. Social distancing in lineups. Not because I care, just because it became a habit. I give a good 2 feet of space now unconsciously. Answer. I wish everyone were like you. I have bumped into the people behind me in a line just by shifting my weight. My feet don't even move. When I have a backpack on or my hair down in a long braid, it's a habit now to turn quickly and whack those people, then feign surprise. And seriously, we don't live in a dense city. If someone is that close to me, they are up to no good. I like it when my daughter's in line with me because she, A, moves a ton, so it creates a force field around me, and B, is still young and learning personal space, so I have a great excuse to loudly educate the people around me by reminding her of boundaries. Usually I say if you can reach out and touch this person, you are too close to them. Story 3. I quit smoking, which is one of the best things I've ever done for myself. The threat of respiratory disease and the forced isolation were just what I needed to commit. Story 4. I stopped being loyal to my job. I was a server bartender and was let go when everything shut down and deemed non-essential. Now I definitely only work my wage or what I feel am worth no more. I use my PTO, sick days, never work on my days off. I do only what my wage is. Answer. That's something I noticed that really changed in the past 5 years. Customer service really took a nosedive, and short staffing has reached new heights that, frankly, are probably why customer-facing employees are so over it. My theory is that most food service and retail folks realize just how much their job sucks and how much it takes away from all areas of their lives. Like I used to do that work before the pandemic, and most people just didn't seem to get that the hours they worked and the job they did wasn't worth the effort they put in. I'm kind of mixed on the whole thing. On the one hand, I think it's good for people to know they're getting fleeced and to do something about it. On the other, I miss 24-hour Walmart and being able to somewhat reasonably expect effort if I find somebody. Story 5. Working from home, I'm a mental health therapist, and video therapy was very rare before the pandemic. Now it's the norm, and I even see my own therapist that way. My husband also works from home and am a night owl, and he's an early bird. So we hang out at lunch nooners, which has been really nice. Mostly not having to proposition him before 8 p.m. if I want to get some. Otherwise, he's basically falling asleep. Story 6. Hand sanitizer in the car. I sanitize every time I get back in the car before I touch anything. I also wash my hands really good right away when I get home. Story 7. Keeping my home tidier on the daily instead of going through the big mess, big clean cycle. Started it to protect my mental health when I was hermited up all pandemic and made it a habit enough to keep it going. Answer. Me too. I used to let things get piled up, and ever since COVID, I can't stand letting a plate sit without at least rinsing it. But most of the time, I'll clean dishes as I go and put it away immediately. Wipe down the sinks when I'm done, rinse the shower, make the bed. Hell, if I could wash my clothes an outfit at a time, I would. I dust and vacuum multiple times a week too. Makes the chores take a few minutes instead of the whole day. It's insane what it's done for my mental health and physical. Story 8. Washing my hands before eating at restaurants and when getting back home from the gym. I know I should have done that before 2020, and I did, but I'm better at it now. Story 9. Taking better care of myself and my mental and physical health. I drink less and I got into running. I know it's cliche, but it has improved my life so much. Story 10. Trying to walk everywhere instead of taking the bus. Showering in PJs as soon as I get home from work. Socializing in parks or cafes with courtyards instead of indoors. Masking on public transit. Story 11. My kids were 6 and 8 when the pandemic started, and with them home all day, I needed to keep them busy. So they became responsible for sorting dirty laundry and then putting away all their clean clothes. Once the habit was in place, I never looked back. Story 12. I still wear a mask when I shop. I'm fine with the staring. I got COVID for the first time last week because I hung out with my friends and their kids and would not recommend, even after all the vaccines and boosters. I don't think I've slept that much since I was an infant. Story 13. Bought a bidet due to toilet paper shortage, and now there's one on every toilet in the house. About 12 people I know have got them because they've seen the ones I have installed at my place. So I guess washing my jerk after using the washroom is my habit I kept up. Story 14. Masking indoors. I still have to. I'm high risk and can't afford to get sick with anything. Corollary. Not doing anything that requires unmasking indoors. Eating in restaurants, drinking in bars, etc. Showering whenever I get home from being out in public. Being more cognizant about cleanliness in general, hand washing, sanitizing, etc. Story 15. Social distancing and wearing a mask when appropriate, like in crowded doctors' offices with coughing, sniffling little brats. Story 16. Comfortable clothes. I'm not going back to restrictive clothing. Even just tight jeans and underwire bras. No thanks. Shapewear? Fuck that. I like my dresses and bike shorts in the summer and sweatpants or slightly structured but still completely stretchy bottoms I found in cooler months, and loose cotton bras that I basically wear for nip coverage. They don't really do any shaping or enhancing. They also make the boobs a useful storage area for phones and other small items like lip balm, earplugs, and pacifiers. Story 17. Wearing a mask regularly, fun fashion accessory, covers up my weird facial expressions and has kept me from getting sick even when stuck in situations with other sick people. Story 18. Drinking a ginger tea, chopped ginger in boiling water, to eliminate off any germs which may be lingering in my mouth throat, works wonders for prevention of colds, flu, or maybe just a placebo, but works for me nonetheless. Story 19. Avoiding contact with others as much as possible. Try to avoid physical contact except with people I know. Story 20. Prior to 2020, my apartment was a place for me to sleep, eat, and watch TV. I rarely hung out there, unless I was hosting other people for a games night or was bringing girls back over. I moved during COVID and spent a lot of time and money making sure that my new place was a place I wanted to spend time in. I spend significantly more time home now than I ever did pre-pandemic as a result. Story 21. Using a respirator indoors, in particular in medical settings, public transport, and generally crowded places. Not a single sick day since sticking to it. Story 22. Wear an N95 when indoors with people outside of my immediate household. Haven't been sick since 2019. Story 23. Fun. Got back into stamp collecting. 2. Volunteering at a local food pantry. 3. Dumped FB, Twitter X, Instagram, etc. 4. Stopped going to the dog park, which is filled with red hats ranting about science, owning the libs, and any POC. 5. Walked away from family and friends who support the Orange Menace. 6. Finally came out as an atheist, which went over like a loud fart in church. Story 24. Running. Peak pandemic, I was 60 lbs heavier than I am now, and I was drinking pretty significantly multiple times a week. One day, I just decided I was sick of being stuck inside and went on a run, which was more of a slowly jog, 100 yards or so, then walk for about a mile total. But it was a start. Now, 2 marathons and literally thousands of miles later that afternoon was the start of really turning around my personal physical health. Story 25. Sanitizing my phone, waking hands when I come home, wearing a mask when I have even one sick-like symptom, social anxiety, indoor plant collection. Story 26. I'm really germ conscious now in public places, like using my shirt sleeve to open doors and not touching fixtures in public toilets. Story 27. Cutting my own hair. It saved me so much time and money in the last 5 years. Started out not so good, but now I can actually cut my hair the way I want it to look. Story 28. Using an incommensurable amount of hand sanitizer. Have small and big bottles everywhere. Keeping my distance when waiting in line. Wearing a mask when I'm sick as well. Here in Canada, I see more and more people wearing masks when they're sick, and I love it. Story 29. Using hand sanitizer every time I get in my car. Also washing hands as soon as I get home. I also switched from soda pop to carbonated water. I still drink some soda occasionally, but nowhere near the amount I used to. Story 30. Washing hands when coming into the house. Wearing latex gloves at certain times when I don't want to wash my hands. Put clean dishes away. Change dirty diaper. Don't blow out candles on a birthday cake. Wear a mask when sick and out. Story 31. Drinking every day. The amount of health issues I now have is insane, yet I still can't get myself to stop. Trust me, I've tried. Longest I've gone is 2 months. Story 32. Mask in public. Not only have I not had any illness in 4 years, but my identity is obscured, no need for makeup, and I can make faces at anyone. Story 33. Immediately taking a shower soon as I get home. I don't mean to take a shower that night. If I come home in the middle of the day, I'll jump in the shower right away. Story 34. Carrying hand sanitizer with me and using it every time I've just touched a bunch of things at a store. Story 35. Using delivery services, so specifically Walmart delivery. Sure, it's an extra charge for the tip, but it keeps me healthy. Story 36. Ordering groceries online. Seriously, I pay an additional $7 to have my groceries delivered within a 2-hour window that I select. Well worth the money. Story 37. I've been cutting my own hair since COVID. Definitely a learning curve to it, but now I actually enjoy it and take a lot of pride in it. Story 38. Not using an alarm clock to wake me up. Used to be in the office at 6 a.m. sharp. Now it's 7:30, depending on when I naturally wake up. Story 39. Wearing my mask in public indoor spaces. Getting my yearly flu shot and COVID booster. I've been very lucky not to contract COVID over the years. Part of it is absolutely related to the privilege of working and living alone, having access to wholesome food, having a strong immune system, and so many factors beyond individual control. But also, you've never stopped masking, though you'll have a beer or a meal somewhere indoors with good airflow and limited occupancy. Between late 2019 and today, I've had one cold and no other communicable illnesses. We all have different capacity, access, and needs, but I've become a firm advocate for masking and love that it helps me stay well. Before masking, it'd get at least a few colds a year. Story 40. My town still mostly observes the 6-foot rule. Not always a total 6 feet, but people stand much farther away in line and at work than before the pandemic. I'm loving this. Story 41. Binge watching reels. 5 years later, I feel like an addict trying to get that dopamine hit from endlessly scrolling reels. Story 42. Home workouts. I bought a bunch of dumbbells and subscribed to some workout apps and started a habit. Story 43. Being an IPA snob. All right, not really a snob, but I no longer enjoy non-IPA beers. Hell, I used to love Bass Ale and Newcastle Brown, but couldn't tell you the last time I had either. Story 44. I cut my own hair. Have saved a fortune in time and wish I started earlier, would have been richer. Story 45. Working out. I gained a bunch of weight the first couple months of the pandemic, and I made a commitment to begin working out from home. Transitioned to working out in a gym once they reopened. Proud to say I've kept it up since then. I've even competed a few times in powerlifting competitions and gotten my personal trainer certification. Story 46. Washing my hands properly. I make it a point to finish the 20 seconds nowadays. Back then, it was at best 10 seconds, on average probably so sick. Feel sick way less often now. Story 47. I started to do a plank every day. I was having an issue with my back neck, and the physical therapist I got to see once before everything got shut down suggested building up my core strength. I'm afraid to stop now because the pain lasted for months and was so unpleasant. I'm not certain if the planks were the solution, but the certainty can't hurt. Story 48. Casually using foaming antibacterial soap like hand sanitizer. It dries without leaving your hands sticky or dry. Honestly, anyone who's seen the number of men who don't wash their hands in a bathroom should be disgusted by touching all the door handles, etc. That other people touch, LOL. Story 49. Masking up when I feel sick. If I have to go to work and God forbid I have a cold, I wear it to work. Thankfully, my coworkers are all on the same page. We even have extras in our desk drawers. Story 50. I never had a drinking problem, but I did drink often before COVID. Right before it hit, I was taking a month off. Once COVID hit, I just kept going with no drinking. Even while drinking, I never liked drinking around my house, so if I was stuck there, not drinking would be really easy. I ended up going about 6 months with no adult beverage. I drink these days, but it's pretty much only on special occasions, and really never more than 2 or 3 drinks. It generally just gives me a headache and makes me tired now. Story 51. Carrying adult beverage gel in my bag. Turns out it comes in handy. Also, I still wear a face mask when it's cold because it's great at stopping my nose from running and keeps my face warm. And I can pull faces at people and they're none the wiser. Story 52. I haven't stopped wearing a KF94 or N95 mask, and I don't think I ever will. People are gross and I'm too busy to get sick. Story 53. I was already a germaphobe, but I got much worse. I wore a mask in public for probably a year after we didn't have to. Working with the elderly, I make it a point to wear a mask then for their protection and my own. I had a cousin who accidentally gave their grandparents COVID, and unfortunately both passed. I'm very conscious of making sure I don't get anyone sick, more considerate of people's safety. If I get sick, I will wear a mask also. Another thing is, I don't lick envelopes. I will either use water or tape to seal them. I probably wouldn't have before, but I never had a need to use an envelope before my job. A fun one is when most stores were closed, my parents and I just drove, talked, rode, and saw the world around us. Dare I say parts of the pandemic were nice. Being an introvert, I enjoyed the peace of either not going in stores, or when I did, nobody would be there. I appreciated things like my health, friends, and family. Little acts of kindness out in the world were appreciated and gave me hope. Oh, and I appreciate toilet paper a lot more now. Story 54. Stopped walking my dog in the neighborhood and instead taking her to the local green space with trails. Still do it 2-3x a week, and she loves it so much. We hiked 450 miles together in 2022. Story 55. Keeping sanitizer in my car and using it after gas pumps. Once I was waiting to fuel up at Costco, and I saw a very large man digging for sweaty brown gold down the back of his pants. He took that same hand out, then he put the nozzle back with it. Story 56. Showering at night. I used to shower in the morning before work, but during periods of off time, they'd end up more sporadic. During the lockdowns, to help keep from turning into a filthy slob, I made a commitment as a self-care routine to shower every night so I could go to bed feeling clean. I became a showering before bed convert, and I still do it every single night. Story 57. Keeping people out of my personal space plus a little bit more. Standing in line is the worst. Some idiot stands very close behind you. I always turn around and look at them like they were some fluckus from the bottom of my shoe. It usually works. Story 58. Washing my hands the minute I come home, and sometimes while I'm out if possible. Getting grocery pickup and delivery. I dislike grocery shopping now. Also, social distancing. Story 59. Making my bed in the morning. The serenity of a tidy bedroom that I walked by 1,000 times a day while working from home, managing remote school for my kid, and attempted to stay sane while locking down hard, was a gift I still value every day. Story 60. Taking long evening walks. I started during lockdown just to get out of the house, and now it's my favorite daily routine. Story 61. I stopped getting my hair trimmed and colored. I cut my own hair and embraced my silver streaks. Also, I now only wear sports bras. I ditched the underwire bra. Story 62. Hand washing, social distancing in a checkout line, using a tablet stylus to teach math, masking if not feeling well. Does anyone ever get weird flashbacks? I do in the grocery store. Like, you look at a certain section and remember seeing something weird there. Story 63. Staying away from people. In all seriousness, though, I used to be so extroverted and had a hard time being isolated indoors. Since then, I love being home more than I enjoy going out. Being around too many people exhausts me now. Story 64. My sister was very serious about avoiding COVID in the house. Anything brought in got wiped down with a Lysol wipe. Also, all the touchable surfaces are wiped down regularly. These precautions are still being taken. Story 65. Taking Vika D and C more. Appreciate keeping myself in good health and my own good health more. I still work in medicine in an ER and ICU, so have always known the importance of good hand washing. Glad that mass vaccination got life back to normal. Science. Story 66. Bread making. I was on holiday in Sichuan on holiday when it hit, went to the airport, it was muted and everyone was worried and wearing masks, got back to Shanghai, then that was that for 6 months. Couldn't work, couldn't even leave the estate where I live. Budget was very, very tight, so I learned how to make bread. Keep it to this day, I can make very good bread with only flour, yeast, salt, and water. Story 67. I wear gloves at the gas station. I don't touch the flusher on a public toilet. Of course, I do a ton of things that contradict those two, but for whatever reason, those are the ones that have stuck. Story 68. Not every day, but when the pollen count is high, I wear a mask. I learned during the pandemic my allergies weren't kicking my jerk so hard in the spring and summer because of the mask. Story 69. Shopping less. I didn't realize how much casual shopping and buying crap I did until I couldn't. I realized how much money I was washing and how much junk I was transitioning faster into landfills, and bam, it eliminated my desire. I also wash my hands every time I come home and usually use hand sanitizer in the car before driving home. Story 70. Evening cocktail dog walk with my wife. We got reusable solo cup looking cups with plastic lids. During pandemic, it was great to have an evening cocktail and see some neighbors from a distance. Post, it's a great ritual that gives us a chance to talk about the day and have some time together. Story 71. Wearing a mask when there's a lot of human around me. Carrying hand sanitizer everywhere I go. Compulsive social eating and drinking, way less. Story 72. Working towards and accelerating my career financial situation. A lot of my hobbies got derailed via shutdowns, and I went through a furlough and extended RIF that lasted 6 to 12 months, slightly above minimum wage job, basically coming into my ATL and career financials in my early 30s. Started thinking there needs to be more, and that my current path isn't sustainable. So I started, very slowly, trying to figure out what and how to progress. Made a 25 pay increase by job hopping within a year by switching from warehouse logistics to construction labor. Got shingles on 33rd birthday week, which took me out of work for almost 2 weeks. Thought to myself, no way I'm going to make it to 40 on my current track. Started looking for more career-like jobs that were more within my area of expertise and got referred to an admin coordinator position that had problems keeping the position filled because it required a lot of analytical problem solving, which is something I'm good at. Got the position by interviewing and demonstrating how the past 3 places I worked at, I was able to streamline a lot of the systems, came with over 100 pay jump from the construction labor. One of my siblings ended buying a really nice property house during this time and did a lot of remodeling, which I helped labor for. Seeing that and the amount of money being spent is what I think flipped the rest of the switch for me, fully fanned the flame. I started looking into cybersecurity automation to both fill my analytical itch as well as financial goals. During this time, discovered that job market was not great for someone with no professional experience. So I started learning and working on my own with current admin position. Ended up automating about 50-60 of the position tasks, and since it's salary, I basically gave myself another 100 pay jump within the year. Now 2 years in, I've put in a lot of work getting more experience on my own as much as possible, as well as getting my name out in my niche as much as I could without burnout. About 2.5 years in, started getting on some people's companies' radars, and am expecting to finally be brought in with a company during their Q4 hiring this year. Expected entry salary is about 25 jump from current, then 2 to 3 years in the position to promotion would be about 40 jump, which would be about 100 from current. As of now, that target would be my ideal stopping point for career progression, and I could see myself with an okay retirement in 10 years, at the earliest, decent at 15, and pretty good in 20 years, when I'll be in my 50s. TLDR, pandemic shutdown ruined a lot of my current hobbies and made me realize I wasn't making enough money to survive if something like that was to happen later on in my career. Re-diverted the time spent on hobbies into advancing career. Made over 300 pay jump within 2 years, and looking to do another 50-100 on top within another 2-3 years. Story 73. Clorox wipes for the movie theater seat. AMC used to provide them free for customers for a few years. Once they stopped, I always bring my own little pack. I doubt they spend their time wiping down all their seats even once on a weekly basis. Story 74. Laughing loudly when I would otherwise just smile. When you were wearing the mask, no one would know if you smiled. So I started to laugh out loudly to show that I'm smiling. It carried over because I don't see a reason to change it. Also fist bumps instead of handshakes. Story 75. Not visiting my friends. I was always a bit on the introverted side, but the pandemic seriously tipped the scale. Story 76. Not really habit, but I tried it and it worked out all right. Cutting my own hair. I'm a guy and basically do the buzz cut. Doesn't look half bad on my skull. Saves me money from getting my hair cut at a shop. Haven't been at a barber since 2021. Story 77. Changing my purse nearly every day. Not that I ever left the house, but it became the highlight of my day. Always carrying hand sanitizer and wearing a mask when I fly, and being diligent about keeping up on COVID, flu, etc. shots. A friend. Story 78. I stopped dating. I go to the gym at 3 a.m. when no one is there. I cook at home a lot more than before. I don't go out often or make new friends. I become basically a hermit. It's lonely. Does anyone have any tips to get out of this mindset? I'm asking for a friend. Story 79. Unfortunately, smoking plant substance during the day on weekdays too. I smoke way more now than I did pre-COVID. I should stop. Story 80. Cleaning down my entire airplane seat before I sit down. Wearing an N95 mask on flights. Spraying sanitizer on my things often. Story 81. Working from home. Singing a 20-second song while washing my hands and taking walking breaks and even sometimes doing walking meetings. Cutting down on drinking a lot. Story 82. Staying home. I used to have so much FOMO. These days, I do not mind just going D&D and binging random YouTube channels. A negative somewhat, I drink way more than I did pre-pandemic. Nothing out of control, but I'm fine having a whiskey at home and just playing some music or watching a comedy. Story 83. Sneezing or coughing into my arm instead of my hands. I seriously can't believe we were ever taught to cough or sneeze into our hands. Story 84. Workout videos a few days a week and meal planning for a week at a time. I cook at home so much more often than I did pre-COVID. Story 85. Yoga. I'm on the mat in some capacity every single day. Well, I've also been pretty good about eating meatless meals to the point where I almost always have a batch of some sort of veggie or legume stew in the fridge. Story 86. I haven't had a haircut yet. My wife trimmed some split ends a while back, though that only removes an inch or less. I'm 6 tall and can sit on my hair if I tilt my head back a bit. Story 87. I stopped doing a full face of makeup every day. My eyelashes grew back. False lashes would pull them out like crazy. My skin is clearer, and I feel better about how I look. I'm still self-conscious about certain features, like my genetic blue-black dark circles, but I don't nitpick every feature on my face anymore. Story 88. Washing hands very thoroughly. Before the pandemic, I just scrubbed the palms and backs with soap, but now I go through the whole song. Literally, I still sing Happy Birthday twice in my head and dance. Palms, backs, thumbs, knuckles, fingernails, wrists. Story 89. Masks on any public transit. Hand sanitizer on hand at all times. It's cut down on colds a lot in my household, which is a big deal given the disabilities among us. I have quite a few auto-ship deliveries now as well, but that's due to a severe injury I suffered during the pandemic itself. I couldn't carry home cat litter or laundry soap for a long time. Sometimes nerve pain still makes it hard, so the deliveries stuck around. Story 90. Washing my hands for 20 seconds after using public restrooms and from touching surfaces outside of my home. I use hand sanitizer if there's no soap. I also use my sleeve or a tissue to open doors and holding railings outside of my home, plus wiping down shopping carts, keeping distance between myself and others around me when in public. I cut my own hair. Story 91. Doing my weekly shop at 6 a.m. to avoid people. Just because they're less likely to be infected now, I still don't like them. Story 92. Keeping my kid home when she is sick. I realize this is difficult for many people, but I have the privilege to do it and refuse to spread illnesses to others. Story 93. I'll never directly touch an elevator button. I'll hit it with my knuckle or my elbow. When opening a public door, I try to open it on the least touch part of the handle. Oh, and I will always use that step pull thing to open the door in public restrooms. Story 94. Wearing N95 masks when I do the lawn. Since I had so many on hand, I started wearing them doing the lawn and realized I stopped coughing, breathing in all the lawn dust. Story 95. Showering at night. I always used to shower in the morning, but when the pandemic started, I always wanted to wash off any outside germs when I got home. Now I can't fathom the years I would crawl into my clean bed with the grime of the day still on me. Story 96. Constantly washing my hands. Wear a mask when I'm sick going to overly crowded places like airplanes, conventions. Grab door handles with the cloth of my shirt jacket. Story 97. Being numb about germs. I have contracted COVID 6 times since 2020 and have been vaccinated or boosted 3 times. The masks, vaccine, and distancing didn't do a thing for me. And to top it off, COVID knocks me on my jerk every time I get it. I've got a great immune system to most things, but not COVID. So now I've stopped all preventative measures for anything and just accepted it as a yearly flu. That and I've lost an incredible amount of trust in the U.S. government. Story 98. Pre-COVID, I was an avid stop for groceries on the way home from work every day because I had no idea what we were having for dinner. During COVID, to minimize my grocery store visits, I meal plan. It became second nature. Only 1 trip a week for groceries, way less waste because I only bought what I'd planned. I still do it weekly. I love it. And the whole family looks forward to Sundays to see what the meals for the week are. They're written on a board in the kitchen and even the teens' friends love it and invite themselves over for dinners based on the weekly menu. Story 99. Not really getting dressed. Shirt and basketball shorts every day unless I'm going somewhere that I need to be presentable. Story 100. Sending my kid to school with hand wipes in his lunchbox so he could clean his hands before he eats lunch. During COVID, they had the kids wash their hands before lunch, but I'm sure many just dribbled water on their hands. Seemed to help overall with sickness. Story 101. Walking 4+ every day, and also definitely more vigilant about hygiene and spread of disease. Washing hands, hand sanitizer, sometimes still masking. Story 102. Regular video chats with family. We started during COVID and just sort of kept it going as a Sunday happy hour thing that everyone is welcome to hop in on. It's been really nice and more fun than talking on the phone or other ways of communicating. Story 103. Wearing a mask. I'm medically vulnerable and have permanent lung damage, so I never stop masking. Story 104. I am immunocompromised. Since the vid is still around, I always stand the 6 FT away and wear a mask in the doctor's office. The docs wear them so it doesn't hurt. Story 105. Working out consistently. It was easy to build momentum and get back in shape when I didn't feel they need to go to a gym to do so. Now I stay fit by playing sports, body weight movements, yoga, and being outdoors, and I enjoy it so much more than lifting weights. It taught me I didn't need to waste time during rush hour to get on weight racks. machines or dumbbells to look good with a shirt off and feel healthy. Really dislike what gym culture has done to fitness as a whole. Story 106. Not really a habit per se, but deleted Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter and never looked back. Best decision ever. Story 107. Haircuts at home. Bought a really good set of clippers and learned how to fade. Probably saved over 1K by now. Story 108. Openly judging people who don't cover their cough or who show up to work group hangouts, etc. Sick. Also, including opinions on vaccination and whether or not I will deepen relationships. I'm very pro-vaccine. Story 109. Laughing at everyone's pain about having to stay home when I was an introvert, but also an essential worker. Still laughing when I hear people talk about how horrible not going out to parties was. Story 110. I work in the food service industry, so washing my hands after the restroom was always habitual, but because of COVID, I now sing the chorus to Dolly Parton's song Jolene to myself in my head to know that I've washed my hands for 20 seconds. Story 111. I stopped talking to humans and still do my best to avoid talking to humans. Dogs are pretty chill though. Story 112. I met my ex-boyfriend during the second major lockdown in our country. I was reading so many books at the time. Being with him, I didn't have time to read. Why? He wanted my constant attention for his endless monologues. At first, I was a bit of a dumb bish and thought it was conversation, but as time went on, it became less reciprocal, and he even got angry if I dared to interrupt. He accused me of being bad at communication and that I had too many rules and boundaries he didn't approve of. I kept pulling away, but he sucked me right in by cosplaying a warm and funny person. In the end, I realized it isn't about the good times. It's when things are shoot and they yell at you for the coffee they spilled because look what you made me do, and it's not even 7 a.m. yet. I had to block him. I've joined 2 book clubs and I have to push myself to try some other social interesting things also. If I don't feel like going, I just think of the times where nothing was going on at all and I make myself go, lol. Story 113. Stopped doing my makeup on the daily and I still can't muster the efforts to start applying it again unless it's for a really special event. Story 114. I started having way less patience for stupid people, their choices. Also, I stopped going to church, probably for the same reason. Stupid people, stupid choices. Also, a loving God would not allow that to happen since he did. Then I don't want anything to do with it. Story 115. Telling people what I really think about something? Should that be work, going out, or family plans? If I think great, I'll say great. If I think fudge that amount, I'll tell fudge that amount. Story 116. I keep Clorox wipes in my car. Pump gas? Clorox wipes my hands. Grocery store, any store? Clorox wipes my hands. Basically, if I touch anything outside my car, I grab a wipe. Story 117. I learned to dislike the feel of clothes. I wore pajamas so often that I got used to them, and everything else feels like wearing heavy sandpaper now. Story 118. Working out and doom scrolling. But I also a carpe diem attitude towards life. Something about the existential dread of sitting alone with my dog, not knowing if I would catch a once-in-a-lifetime plague, cured me of my debilitating perfectionism and allowed me to stop worrying about doing the right thing instead of doing my thing. Story 119. Saying no to people when I don't want to do something or go somewhere. COVID let me embrace my introverted nature, acknowledge my limited social battery need to regularly recharge. I didn't realize how much I had been figuratively masking around people or how utterly exhausting it was until I got a break from it. Story 120. Social distancing like crazy. IDC, if you're mad, I'm like 7.5 steps away from you. As an introvert, I was so excited for this to be a thing. Story 121. I do credit the pandemic when nearly everything was briefly shut down in early 2020 as to why I started to explore cemeteries more, including researching those famous who are buried at certain cemeteries on findagrave.com and giving me future ideas for new cemeteries to visit. This is something I still try to do to this day. Story 122. I wash my hands a lot more, especially before handling clean dishes to put away or food prep. I also watch physicians like a hawk over injections. Dentists don't get a pass, and all others wait in line until it's fully informed. It's caused some issues, but more and more, the nurses being questioned a lot now are responding. Many of the older ones were good about it all along. Story 123. Ordering groceries instead of making a list and going to the store. I make the list on my phone during the week in order. Then I go about my day doing other things and my groceries are delivered. I do go to farmers markets for produce and bread now, but cleaning supplies and box canned goods, hygiene products, etc. all Instacart orders. I have always gotten overwhelmed in stores with the amount of choices for products and the amount of people in the aisle and the noise. Saves time and my sanity. Story 124. I don't carry a purse anymore. I wear pants with pockets that can hold my phone and my teeny wallet that is only big enough to hold a few cards. Story 125. I don't eat in restaurants. Got help with my anxiety. Decided my finances were easy to fix and fixed them. Nothing major, just got rid of credit cards. Live more in the moment, which was a struggle with anxiety, but figured it out and took my meds. Decided that things that gave me stress were not worth keeping. Clutter, saying yes to things that made me spiral. I don't buy things just to fill space. If it won't improve my life in any way, I don't get it. And taking me and my wife as an absolute in all things, health, family events, getting a pet, vacation money does not go to anyone or anything that does not help us. Story 126. Drinking. Before the pandemic, I had maybe one beer or glass of wine per week. During the pandemic, since I was cooking all my meals at home, I figured why not have beer or two with dinner on a regular basis. That habit's extra calories stuck around a while. Now I'm back down to what I was drinking pre-pandemic, less than once per week. But I'm still losing that extra weight from the regular beers. And yes, I do plenty of exercise, but it's hard to get rid of the weight. Story 127. Wearing a mask. I found during the pandemic that wearing a mask during allergy season really reduced the watery eyes, runny nose, and sneezing. So I still wear a mask when the cottonwood fuzz is flying or when I am mowing grass. Story 128. Wearing a mask when around others if I'm sick. Also, washing my hands all the time, including whenever I get home after being out anywhere. I'm very conscious about spreading germs now. Story 129. Remember those that during the pandemic refused to social distance or wear masks and continue to distance myself from them. Story 130. Having weekend nights where I just sit on my couch and watch a movie and chill. I used to think weekends were partied too hard if you weren't out doing something, but COVID opened my eyes to how glorious a night just relaxing at home can be. Story 131. Invest in upgrading furniture, gaming, technology, streaming services because you spend more time at home. Daily walks cutting my own hair. Avoid anti-vax deplorables. Story 132. Wearing a mask on flights. I used to come down with a cold after every vacation and just chalked it up to being on the go in a new place for a week. Then COVID came and I flew a couple of times and there was no cold. I was amazed, but I still didn't put two and two together. Even thinking, wow, I've flown twice now and I didn't get sick. Then about a minute later, I realized why. I've worn a mask on every flight since, and I always come back with nothing but jet lag. Story 133. I'm ashamed to admit I still order Uber Eats when it's completely unnecessary. Sometimes I drive home from work and order food when I get home. It's terrible. I drive by 3 to 4 grocery stores on the way. Story 134. Masking on the plane. It should be that people who are sick mask, but people are gross and don't do that. So tired of sitting near some person who is all snorting and sneezing into their hands. Story 135. COVID actually helped me reduce one of my habits. Now, instead of licking every single doorknob I see, I've cut myself back to no more than 6 a day. Story 136. Running. Started training for my first half marathon while working from home in 2021, and I still do that today. I run at least one 13.1-mile race every fall. Story 137. Carrying hand sanitizer everywhere I go. The first thing I do when I get in my car from anywhere is sanitize my hands. I've not been sick since July 2023. Knock on wood. Story 138. When I wash my hands, I do a thorough job. I also got into the habit of coughing or sneezing away from people and into my elbow. I mask if I'm sick. Story 139. Stopped coloring my hair. Started having groceries delivered. Stopped going out to places with large groups of people. Story 140. My hubs and I both take turns buzz cutting each other's hair. No more going for haircuts. Honestly saves several $100s a year. Story 141. I go for very long walks regularly. Started during the pandemic because I was unemployed and there was absolutely nothing to do, but now I love it. Story 142. Foraging in public food forests. Learning how to cook with those forage foods. Washing my hand a lot, wearing a mask if sick, maintaining distance between myself and others. Story 143. At the gym, I had always sprayed the bottle of disinfectant on the bench I was working on, but I had never sprayed the handles for the barbells or the machine handles. When things opened up again, I sprayed the handles before I used it and after I used it. I still do it now. Story 144. Listening to podcasts. My long daily walks outside during the pandemic was when I first started listening to them. Story 145. Disinfecting my phone with a wipe after in public. I never got COVID, and I think this is why. I have always washed hands, used hand sanitizer often and throughout the pandemic. Cleaning my phone often is something I don't hear other people doing, so may have given me extra protection. I was tested regularly at work and worked at a health center through the pandemic. Story 146. Not wearing makeup. During the pandemic, I realized I was only doing it to meet other people's expectations. I like myself without makeup, and if I decide to wear some on occasion now, it has way more effect because people are used to my natural face. Story 147. I abstain from adult beverage if I have work or some other pressing obligation the next day. It's been about half a decade now, and I still relish waking up in the morning rested, alert, and energized. Speaking of adult beverage, if you ever want to be disgusted, then use some sanitizer and a napkin on a pub table. Give it a good wipe and check the results. Bonus marks if you do the same thing with the menu. Story 148. 1. Weekly yoga class on Zoom. 2. Carrying hand sanitizer in my purse and using it every time I get back in my car, before I eat, etc. 3. Walking in my neighborhood, usually 1-2 miles a day. 4. Wearing a mask when I travel and being very intentional about hand washing. Drinking more water and less of everything else. Story 149. Healthy sleep schedule. First lockdown prevented my burnout because on my last in-person day at Higher Technical College, Friday, before the lockdowns on Monday happened, I speculated on that we would have written an exam on Monday. I just wanted to go home and sleep because I couldn't concentrate anymore and wanted to stop doing anything productive. Had a very bad sleep schedule past 1 a.m., going to sleep, getting up 5:50, 6:04 a.m., and I was overweight. November 2024. I finally reached normal weight, 190 centimeters to 76, but I started changing my eating habits long-lastingly, 2021, 2022, while doing community service as a paramedic, which not only helped with my couch potato problem, but also allowed me to see the negative health effects if I ignore it any longer. So I set myself the goal that I want to change before becoming 25, which I also did, and I am healthier, sleep better, fit in my old clothes again, and my bones and joints don't ache and hurt anymore. Story 150. I avoid shaking hands as much as possible, but if someone comes to me for a handshake, I don't say no, but once done, I'll go to a nearby sink to wash my hands or get a hand sanitizer bottle without touching anything with that hand. Story 151. Why do I encounter this post while I just found out I have a serious case? Not that serious that I'm in the hospital, but serious enough to not leave my bed, of COVID right now. Anyways, I did not pick up the right habit of stacking food, so I need to ask family and friends to bring food and put it outside my doorstep. It sucks. Don't get COVID, guys. It sucks. Story 152. Stopped being a people pleaser with going around toxic family and friends. Pandemic, I could use that as a boundary, and I just kept up my boundaries. Story 153. Wipe down all my groceries. It makes me feel a lot better when I'm picking things up while cooking. I know the packaging is clean. Story 154. Not going into the office, they want me to, but all my work can get done remote, so I just kind of stay home most of the time. Go in occasionally to keep up appearances, but not much, mostly for lunch. Story 155. Wash my hands after touching stuff that everyone and their grandma is putting their hands on. I'm not a germaphobe, but darn near close. Story 156. Singing happy birthday twice while washing my hands to ensure I wash them long enough. Oh, and working from home. I haven't worked a day in an office since 2020. Story 157. I started to learn a foreign language and read a book per week. While I don't have all day anymore, I spend 45 minutes a day on the language, and I read a book every 2 weeks. Haven't missed a day in 5 years. Story 158. We broke the habit of eating in restaurants and now eat 99 home-cooked meals. Good timing, too, with how expensive restaurants are getting despite worse food service. Generally. Story 159. I order my groceries online and have them brought out to the car. Way easier, and although it does cost a whopping $2, I save a ton more because I'm not impulse buying crap I don't really need. Story 160. During the pandemic, I started going for daily walks just to get out of the house and clear my head. It became a way to reset and actually notice the little things around me. Story 161. I buy at least 2 of everything whenever budget or sale allows. It feels like the Depression era habits my grandparents had. Story 162. Having a bottle of ethyl adult beverage at my desk and using it frequently on my hands. Surface sanitary wipes everywhere at home. Having a face mask inside my bag to wear as needed. Story 163. Growing veggie sherbs at home. No plans to stop anytime soon. I love it. Baking my own sourdough, too.